You're not tired because life is hard. You're tired because you've been carrying a version of yourself that isn't really you. Every day, in small, quiet ways, you adjust. You hold back what you really feel. You say yes when something inside you says no. You smile while your chest feels heavy, and no one notices, because you've become so good at hiding it, so good that even you don't see it clearly anymore. But here's the truth. This isn't just exhaustion. This is what it feels like to slowly disappear. Not all at once, but piece by piece, in the small moments where you choose others over yourself. And if you don't see this now, you will keep fading while everyone still thinks you're okay. But once you see it, once you really see what's been happening, you can't go back to living the same way. You traded inner peace just to keep everyone else comfortable. There were many small moments, quiet ones, that no one else even noticed. Moments where something inside you didn't feel right. Not loud, not dramatic, just a soft feeling, like your heart gently saying, "This isn't for me." But instead of listening to that voice, you pushed it down. You told yourself, "It's fine. It's not a big deal," because you didn't want to create a problem. You didn't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. You didn't want to be seen as difficult or too much. So you chose silence over honesty. You chose adjustment over truth. You smiled when you didn't feel like smiling. You agreed when something inside you disagreed. You stayed, even when a part of you wanted to step back. And slowly, this became normal. You stopped checking in with yourself. You stopped asking, "What do I feel?" and started asking, "What keeps everything peaceful?" But here's what you didn't see at that time. Every time you ignored that small inner voice, you moved a little further away from yourself. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, piece by piece. Like losing something, but not realizing it's gone. And now, you feel it. That strange emptiness, that quiet disconnection, where everything looks okay from the outside, but inside, something feels missing, because the peace you were trying to protect was never real peace. It was just the absence of conflict. And while you were keeping everyone else comfortable, you were leaving yourself behind. And the truth is, real peace doesn't come from keeping everyone happy. It comes from finally being honest with yourself. You learned it's safer to be liked than to be real. At some point in your life, without even realizing it, you learned a quiet rule, that being liked keeps things safe. It keeps people close. It keeps things smooth. And slowly, this rule started shaping the way you show up in the world. You began to notice what people respond well to, what makes them smile, what makes them stay. And, without thinking too much, you started becoming that version. You softened your opinions. You held back your real thoughts. You filtered your words so no one would feel uncomfortable. You became more careful, more agreeable, more easy to deal with. And yes, it worked. People liked you. They felt comfortable around you. They stayed. But deep inside, something felt off. Because the more they liked you, the less you felt like yourself. You were being accepted, but not fully seen, because the real you was still hidden behind all the adjustments. And now, a quiet fear has grown inside you, a fear that if you show your true thoughts, if you speak honestly, if you stop adjusting so much, people might not like you the same way. They might pull away. They might misunderstand you. They might leave. So you continue, choosing to be liked over being real. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. Being liked for who you are not will always feel empty, because no matter how many people accept you, if they are not seeing the real you, it will never feel complete. And slowly, you start feeling alone. even when you're surrounded by people, because deep down, you know, they're connected to a version of you that isn't fully true. And that is why, no matter how much validation you receive, something inside you still feels unseen. Real connection doesn't come from being perfect for others. It comes from being real, even if it feels uncomfortable. And the moment you allow yourself to be seen as you truly are, is the moment you stop needing to perform just to be accepted. You mistook self-abandonment for kindness. You've always seen yourself as someone who cares, someone who gives, who understands, who shows up when others need you. And that's true. Your heart is soft. Your intentions are real. You don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want to disappoint anyone. So whenever someone needs something, you're there. Even when you're tired, even when you're already carrying too much, even when something inside you is quietly saying, "I don't have the energy for this." But you ignore that voice, because in your mind, this is what it means to be a good person, to give more, to sacrifice more, to stay, even when it feels heavy. But slowly, something changes. You start feeling drained more often. You feel tired, even after doing small things. You begin to feel a quiet frustration that you don't fully understand, because you keep giving. But no one seems to notice how much it's costing you. And the truth is, you don't even notice it fully yourself, because you've convinced yourself this is kindness. But look deeper. Real kindness does not leave you empty. Real kindness does not silence your needs. Real kindness does not ask you to disappear just so others can feel comfortable. What you've been doing is not just giving, it's leaving yourself behind again and again in small, quiet ways. Every time you ignore your limits, every time you say it's okay when it's not, every time you stay available when you need rest, you are choosing others at the cost of yourself. And over time, this creates something heavy inside you, a quiet exhaustion, a hidden resentment, a feeling of being unseen, even though you're always there for everyone. Because deep down, you're hoping someone will notice, someone will ask, "Are you okay?" But the hard truth is, people will often treat you the way you teach them to treat you. And if you keep showing them that your needs come last, they will believe it. Not because they don't care, but because you never showed them another way. This is where everything begins to shift. Kindness is not the problem. Your heart is not the problem. The problem is, you forgot to include yourself in your own kindness. You learned how to care for others, but you were never taught how to care for yourself with the same softness. And now, it's time to change that. Not by becoming cold, not by pushing people away, but by finally allowing your kindness to reach you too. Because the moment your kindness includes yourself is the moment it becomes real, balanced, and peaceful. And, for the first time, giving will no longer feel like losing something. It will feel like something that flows without breaking you. You took responsibility for emotions that were never yours. You walk into a room, and, before anyone even speaks, you can feel everything. A slight change in someone's face, a different tone in their voice, a quiet silence that feels heavier than usual. And instantly, something inside you reacts. You start thinking, did I do something wrong? Are they upset because of me? What can I do to fix this? And without even realizing it, you begin to adjust. You change your tone. You choose your words more carefully. You become softer, quieter, more careful. Not because you want to express yourself, but because you want to protect the atmosphere. You want everything to feel okay again. And slowly, this becomes automatic. You stop just being present and start managing everyone's emotions around you. If someone is upset, you try to calm them. If someone is distant, you try to get closer. If someone is uncomfortable, you carry that discomfort like it belongs to you. But here's the truth. Their emotions are not your responsibility. You were never meant to fix how others feel. You were never meant to carry moods that are not yours. People have their own thoughts, their own struggles, their own inner world. And not everything is about you. But your mind has learned a different pattern. It has learned to take things personally, to connect every shift in someone's behavior back to yourself. And because of that, you are constantly adjusting, constantly watching, constantly trying to keep everything stable. And it's exhausting because you are trying to control something that cannot be controlled. No matter how careful you are, no matter how much you adjust, you cannot manage how everyone feels. And in trying to do so, you lose your own emotional balance. You stop asking, "What am I feeling right now?" and start asking, "How do I keep them okay?" And this is where the shift needs to happen. Not by becoming cold, not by ignoring others, but by understanding a simple truth. You can care without carrying. You can support without absorbing. You can be present without losing yourself. When someone is upset, it doesn't always mean you caused it. When someone is distant, it doesn't always mean you did something wrong. And when the mood changes, it doesn't mean you have to change yourself. The moment you stop taking responsibility for what is not yours is the moment your energy starts coming back to you. You feel lighter, clearer, more grounded, because you are no longer trying to hold everything together. You are simply standing in your own space, without carrying what was never meant for you. And that is where emotional freedom begins. You say yes because you're afraid of being left behind. There's a small moment, right before you say yes, a quiet pause that almost no one sees. In that moment, something inside you hesitates, a soft feeling, a gentle resistance, like your heart is trying to say, "I don't want this." But before that voice can fully rise, another voice becomes louder. What if they get upset? What if they stop choosing me? What if I lose them? And just like that, you say yes. Not because you want to, but because you're afraid of what might happen if you don't. And this doesn't just happen once. It becomes a pattern. You say yes to things that drain your energy. You say yes when you need rest. You say yes when your mind is already tired, your heart already full. You say yes, even when it slowly starts hurting you. And from the outside, it looks like kindness. It looks like you're supportive, reliable, always there. But inside, it feels different. It feels heavy, because every yes is costing you something. Your time, your energy, your peace. And the hardest part is, you're not saying yes out of love. You're saying yes out of fear. A fear of being left behind. A fear that if you stop showing up the same way, people might stop showing up for you. So you keep giving. You keep agreeing. You keep stretching yourself just to hold on to connections. But here's the truth that hurts. If someone only stays because you never say no, then they are not staying for you. They are staying for what you provide. And that's not real connection. That's quiet dependency. Real connection does not disappear when you have boundaries. Real connection does not break when you choose yourself. The people who truly value you don't leave when you say no. They understand. They respect it. They adjust, just like you always have. But you've never allowed yourself to test that, because you've been too busy protecting the relationship, even if it means losing yourself in the process. And slowly, your yes stops feeling like a choice. It becomes automatic. It becomes something you say before you even think. And that's when you know you're no longer choosing. You're reacting. You're surviving. But this is where the shift begins. The next time that small pause appears, don't rush past it. Stay there for a moment. Listen to what you actually feel. And understand this: saying no does not make you a bad person. It makes you an honest one. It shows that your time matters. Your energy matters. You matter. And at first, it will feel uncomfortable. You might feel guilty. You might overthink it. You might even want to go back and change your answer. But if you stay with it, you'll notice something powerful. You don't lose yourself anymore. And the more you choose honesty over fear, the more your yes becomes real again. Not forced, not automatic, but true. And that is where your strength begins to return. Because you are no longer saying yes just to keep people. You are saying yes only when it feels right to you. You lost your own voice while trying to hear everyone else. You became someone who understands people deeply. You notice small changes in tone, small shifts in behavior, the things people don't even say out loud. You listen carefully, you observe quietly, and you try to respond in a way that keeps everything smooth. Over time, you became very good at hearing others, but slowly, without realizing it, you stopped hearing yourself. There was a time when your thoughts were clear, when your feelings were simple, when you didn't hesitate so much before speaking. But as you started focusing more on others, your own voice became softer, quieter, and harder to recognize. You began to question yourself more. You began to pause longer before speaking. You began to wonder, is this the right thing to say? Instead of asking, is this true to me? And little by little, your voice didn't disappear suddenly. It faded. It got buried under overthinking, under fear of being misunderstood, under the need to keep everyone comfortable. You started choosing words that would not upset anyone. You started holding back thoughts that felt too honest. You started staying silent in moments where something inside you wanted to speak. Now, even when you try to express yourself, it doesn't come out easily. You second-guess your words. You feel unsure. You wonder how it will be received. And sometimes, you don't say anything at all. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're no longer used to listening to your own truth. You've spent so much time tuning into others that you've lost connection with your own signal. Your inner voice is still there, but it's been ignored for so long that it no longer feels strong. It feels distant. It feels uncertain. And that's why even simple decisions feel confusing now, because you are no longer guided by what you feel, but by what you think will be accepted. But here's what you need to understand. Your voice didn't disappear. It was never lost. It was only pushed aside, again and again, until it became quiet. And the reason it feels hard to hear now is not because it's gone, but because you haven't been listening. The moment you begin to pause and ask yourself honestly, what do I really feel? Something starts to shift. At first, the answer may not come clearly. There may be silence. There may be confusion. But if you stay with it, if you stop rushing to adjust to others, your voice slowly begins to return. It comes back in small ways, in moments where you choose to say what you actually think, in moments where you stop explaining yourself too much, in moments where you allow your truth to exist, even if it feels uncomfortable. And the more you listen to yourself, the clearer it becomes, the stronger it becomes. Until one day, you no longer feel lost in conversations. You no longer feel unsure of your own thoughts. You no longer feel like you have to search for the right version of yourself, because you are no longer trying to hear everyone else first. You are finally hearing yourself, and that changes everything. You avoid small discomfort and end up losing yourself slowly. There are small moments in your day that don't seem important at first. Moments where something feels slightly uncomfortable. a conversation you don't want to have, a truth you don't want to say, a boundary you know you should set, but you hesitate. And in those moments, you choose the easier path. You tell yourself, it's not worth it. You stay quiet to avoid tension. You let things pass to keep everything smooth. You delay what needs to be said because it feels uncomfortable right now. And in the moment, it feels like the right choice. You avoided conflict. You kept things calm. You protected the situation. But what you don't see is what it's doing to you over time. Every time you avoid a small discomfort, you create a small disconnect inside yourself. You teach yourself that your truth is less important than temporary peace, that your feelings can wait, that your voice can be ignored. And these small moments, they don't stay small. They add up, quietly, slowly, until one day you don't recognize yourself in your own life, because you've built a life based on avoiding discomfort instead of living in truth. And the hardest part is, you didn't lose yourself in one big decision. You lost yourself in 100 small moments, where you chose comfort over honesty, where you chose silence over expression, where you chose to stay easy instead of being real. And now, everything feels heavier, because the discomfort you avoided back then has turned into something bigger. Unspoken feelings, hidden frustration, a quiet sense of being trapped. Because what you didn't face never disappeared. It stayed inside you. It grew, and now it feels harder to deal with. But here's the truth that changes everything. Small discomfort is not your enemy. It is a signal. It is your inner voice, asking you to stay true to yourself. That moment of tension, when you want to say something but hold back, that's where your growth is. That moment when you feel nervous to set a boundary, that's where your strength begins. Because every time you choose to face a small discomfort, you stop the slow process of losing yourself. You bring yourself back, piece by piece. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your heart will race. Your mind will overthink. You will question yourself. But if you stay with it, you will notice something powerful. The discomfort passes, but the self-respect stays. And slowly, you begin to trust yourself again. You begin to feel more solid, more clear, more grounded. Because you are no longer running away from small moments. You are standing in them. And that is how you stop losing yourself. Not in one big change, but in small, honest choices made again and again, until one day you don't fear discomfort anymore, because you understand it was never there to break you. It was there to bring you back to yourself. You became someone everyone accepts, but you no longer recognize. From the outside, everything looks fine. People see you as calm, easy to be around, understanding. They feel comfortable with you. They trust you. They come to you. And, in many ways, you've become the person everyone likes to have in their life. But inside, something doesn't feel right. There's a quiet distance between who you are and who you show. You smile, but it doesn't always reach deep. You agree, but it doesn't always feel true. You stay present, but part of you feels far away, because the version of you that people know is not the full version of you. It's the adjusted version, the softened version, the version that learned how to fit instead of how to be. You became someone who avoids friction, someone who knows how to keep things smooth, someone who rarely causes discomfort. And slowly, that version became your identity. But deep down, there are parts of you that never got to breathe, thoughts you never expressed, feelings you never allowed to be seen, boundaries you never set. And now, when you sit with yourself in silence, It feels unfamiliar, almost like you're meeting someone you don't fully know, because you've spent so much time being what others need, that you've lost touch with what you actually are. And the strange part is, you are accepted. People appreciate you. They value you. But that acceptance doesn't feel complete, because it's not connected to your truth. It's connected to the version you created, to be easier to love. And that's why, even when you're surrounded by people, there's a quiet loneliness inside you, not because no one is there, but because no one is fully seeing you. And maybe even you are not fully seeing yourself anymore. This is where the realization becomes important. You didn't become this version overnight. You shaped it slowly, through small adjustments, repeated over time, to avoid rejection, to avoid conflict, to stay connected. And there's nothing wrong with wanting connection, but when connection comes at the cost of losing yourself, it stops feeling real, because real connection requires a real you, not a perfect version, not an easy version, but a true version. And that's the part that's been missing. The moment you start allowing yourself to show up more honestly, even in small ways, something begins to change. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You feel exposed. You feel unsure. But then, you start feeling something you haven't felt in a long time. Alignment, where what you feel and what you show begin to match, where your outer self and your inner self are no longer separate. And slowly, you begin to recognize yourself again, not the version built for others, but the one that was always there, waiting to be lived. And that is where true connection begins, not when everyone accepts you, but when you finally stop abandoning yourself just to be accepted. You keep waiting for permission to finally be yourself. There's a quiet belief inside you that keeps delaying everything, a belief that says, not yet. Not yet to speak honestly, not yet to set boundaries, not yet to show who you really are. You keep telling yourself, I'll do it later, when the timing is right, when things feel safer, when people understand me better, when I feel more confident. And so, you wait. You wait for the perfect moment. A moment where no one gets hurt, where no one misunderstands you, where everything feels smooth and easy. But that moment never comes, because it doesn't exist. Life doesn't pause and prepare the perfect space for you to be yourself. And the longer you wait, the more natural it becomes to keep hiding. You begin to live in a constant delay. You know what you want to say, but you don't say it. You know what you feel, but you don't express it. You know what you need, but you don't ask for it. Because somewhere inside, you're waiting for permission. Permission to speak. Permission to choose yourself. Permission to stop adjusting so much. And maybe this started a long time ago. Maybe you were taught to be quiet, to not create problems, to not be too much, to make others comfortable first. So now, even as an adult, that pattern is still there. You hesitate, you hold back, you look around before you act, as if someone needs to approve your truth. But here's what you need to see clearly. No one is coming to give you that permission. No one is going to sit you down and say, now it's your turn. Now you can be yourself. Because that moment was always yours to choose. And the longer you wait for it, the further you move away from your real life. Because your real life doesn't begin when everything is perfect. It begins the moment you stop asking for approval and start listening to yourself. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. You will doubt yourself. You will wonder if you're doing the right thing. You will feel the pull to go back to your old way, to stay safe. But if you stay with it, if you take even one small step, something begins to shift. You realize nothing breaks. you realize you are still okay. And slowly, you start trusting yourself more than you trust others' reactions. You stop looking around for signs. You stop waiting for the right time, because you understand something deeper now. Being yourself was never something you had to earn. It was never something you had to wait for. It was always yours. And the moment you stop waiting for permission is the moment you finally step into your life. Not the life where you adjust to be accepted, but the life where you are real, present, and free. And that's where everything begins to change. Because you are no longer waiting to exist. You are finally allowing yourself to live. The moment you see the pattern, you take your power back. Up until now, most of what you've been doing has felt automatic. You reacted without thinking. You adjusted without noticing. You said yes before even checking how you truly felt. It wasn't because you were weak, it was because you were unaware. These patterns were running quietly in the background, shaping your choices without asking you. But something is different now. You're starting to see it. You're beginning to notice the moments where you ignore yourself. The moments where you feel that small hesitation before saying yes. The moments where you go quiet, even though something inside you wants to speak. And for the first time, you are not completely inside the pattern anymore. You are observing it. And that changes everything. Because the moment you see a pattern clearly, it loses its full control over you. It no longer feels like, this is just who I am. It starts to feel like, this is something I've been doing. And that small shift is powerful. Now there is a space, a small pause between what you feel and what you do. Before, the reaction was instant. Now, there is a moment where you can choose. You can notice the urge to say yes and decide if you really want to. You can feel the fear of speaking and still choose to express yourself. You can see the habit without automatically following it. This is where your power begins to return. Not in a loud way, not all at once, but quietly, in small decisions, in subtle changes, in moments where you respond differently than before. At first, it may feel strange. You might still fall back into old habits. You might still say yes when you meant no. You might still stay quiet when you wanted to speak. But now, you will notice it. And that awareness keeps growing stronger every time. Because once you see something clearly, you cannot unsee it. And the more you notice your patterns, the less they control you. You stop blaming yourself and start understanding yourself. You stop reacting blindly and start choosing consciously. This is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming aware. Because awareness gives you something you didn't have before. A choice. And choice is power. Power to pause. Power to speak. Power to step back. Power to stay true, even when it feels uncomfortable. And slowly, this awareness begins to reshape your life. You are no longer just reacting to people. You are no longer adjusting without thinking. You are no longer losing yourself in the same way. Because now, you can see what is happening. And when you can see it, you can change it. Not overnight, not all at once, but moment by moment, choice by choice, until one day you realize something quietly but clearly. You are no longer controlled by the same patterns. You are living with awareness. You are choosing with intention. And you have taken your power back, not by force, but by finally seeing the truth. Boundaries feel hard because you were never taught self-respect. When you think about setting boundaries, something inside you tightens. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel easy. It feels heavy, uncomfortable, almost wrong. You start thinking, what if they get upset? What if they misunderstand me? What if I hurt them? And before you even try, you step back. You stay the same. You tell yourself, it's not worth it. But look deeper. This isn't just about boundaries. It's about what you were taught and what you were never taught. You were taught to be kind, to be patient, to be understanding, to put others first, to avoid conflict, to keep things peaceful. And all of that shaped you into someone gentle, someone caring, someone easy to be around. But there was something missing. You were never truly taught how to respect yourself. You were never shown that your time matters, that your energy matters, that your feelings deserve space too. So now, when it's time to protect yourself, it feels unfamiliar, almost like you're doing something wrong, because your mind has learned that saying no is rude, that stepping back is selfish, that choosing yourself means hurting others. But that belief is not truth. It's just something you've carried for too long, because real self-respect does not hurt people. It simply shows where you stand. It shows that you value your time, your energy, your peace. And the truth is, boundaries don't push people away. They reveal who respects you and who only felt comfortable because you had none. At first, it will feel difficult. You will feel guilt. You will overthink your words. You will want to explain yourself again and again. You might even question if you're doing the right thing, but that's part of the process, because you are stepping into something new. You are learning to choose yourself without apology. You are learning to say no without feeling like you need to fix it afterward. You are learning to step back without feeling like you've done something wrong. And slowly, that discomfort begins to fade. You start feeling more grounded, more clear, more stable inside yourself, because you are no longer giving beyond your limits. You are no longer saying yes out of fear. You are no longer carrying what was never yours. And something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself. You trust your decisions. You trust your feelings. You trust your boundaries. And once that trust is built, everything changes. Because now, you are not living to keep everyone else comfortable. You are living in a way that also protects you. And that is not selfish. That is balance. That is respect. That is strength. And for the first time, your kindness is no longer costing you your peace. It is working with it, not against it. When you finally choose yourself, everything inside you becomes peace. There comes a quiet moment where something inside you shifts, not loudly, not suddenly, but gently. You stop chasing approval. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop trying to fix everything for everyone. And for the first time in a long time, you turn your attention back to yourself. At first, it feels unfamiliar, almost strange, because you're not used to putting yourself first. You're not used to asking, what do I need right now? What feels right for me? You're used to adjusting, to responding, to giving. But now, you pause, you listen, and that small shift begins to change everything. You start saying no without carrying guilt for hours. You start stepping back without feeling like you've done something wrong. You stop explaining your choices to people who were never trying to understand you, and slowly, your energy begins to return. You feel lighter, not because your life became perfect, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours. You stopped forcing yourself into spaces that didn't feel right. You stopped holding on to connections that required you to disappear. You stopped abandoning yourself just to be accepted. And in that space, something beautiful grows. Peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything being easy, but the kind of peace that comes from being aligned, where what you feel and what you do are no longer fighting each other. where your mind is not constantly overthinking, where your heart is not constantly adjusting, where you are simply at ease with yourself. And this peace is different. It's quiet. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't depend on who stays or who leaves, because it comes from within you, from knowing that you are no longer betraying yourself, from knowing that you are finally standing on your own side. And yes, some people may not understand this version of you. Some may feel uncomfortable when you stop being the person who always adjusts. Some may even drift away. But what you gain is far greater. You gain clarity. You gain strength. You gain a deep sense of self that no one can take from you. And most importantly, you gain yourself back. And once you feel that, you realize something very powerful. You were never too much. You were never difficult. You were never the problem. You were just trying to live without losing people. But now, you're living without losing yourself. And that changes everything, because the moment you finally choose yourself is the moment everything inside you becomes calm, steady, and whole. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And that is where true peace begins. So now, just sit with this for a moment. No pressure, no rush, just a quiet pause. All this time, you were trying so hard to keep everything together, to keep people happy, to keep relationships smooth, to keep yourself from being misunderstood. And in doing that, you slowly moved away from yourself. Not because you were weak, but because you didn't know another way. But now, you see it. Now you understand what's been happening. And that awareness changes everything. You don't have to become a different person overnight. You don't have to fix everything at once. Just start small. Notice the moments where you ignore yourself. Notice the moments where you say yes without thinking. Notice the moments where your truth goes quiet. And gently begin to choose differently. Not perfectly, not forcefully, just honestly, because you deserve to be part of your own life. You deserve to feel heard by yourself. You deserve a life where you don't have to disappear just to be accepted. And the truth is, the right people will not leave when you finally become real. They will understand you. They will respect you. And the ones who don't were only connected to the version of you that was never fully true. So, let them go without anger, without blame, just with clarity, because you're not losing people, you're finding yourself. And that is not a loss. That is a return, a quiet, powerful return, back to who you've always been. So, from this moment, walk a little closer to yourself. Speak a little more honestly. Rest without guilt. Choose without fear. And slowly, you will feel it. That calm, that lightness, that quiet strength inside you, because you are no longer trying to be everything for everyone. You are finally learning to be real for yourself. And that is where your peace lives.